Greetings, everybody. Your local neighborhood T3 here. Somebody give me a chickadee check that they can hear me. That would be sweet. All right, audio is good. Well, welcome everybody. I know I just did kind of a miniature version of this the other day, but I felt it important to do one today as well because I have, I'm filled with so much gratitude because of quite a few things, which I'll explain here in a second. But yeah, finally hitting my stride, putting all the hard lessons, the failures, the successes, everything all together, and now having the ability to have at least a little bit of financial stability for the next few months so I can put some of this stuff into action. And you'll see my tentative route number one I will be taking coming up soon here. But these sessions are always, this is something I started doing when I first started, live streaming. And now it's funny because, when I went into business for myself in the first place, okay, let's go back to this one for a minute. So, yeah, when I first started 5 years ago, and I'm considering, literally tomorrow to be the official start of me carrying on the vision as my father handed to me. These last 4.5, almost 5 years of being hit by every type of hurricane possible has shaped me into the man I am today. And so that's what this episode is going to focus about. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how my plans have changed a little bit and a few other things. So I'm going to start off with a couple of quick movies here. All right, everybody. So, my wonderful uh, auto repair friend, Chris, just all around awesome individual, is kind of being my backup, making sure everything's working. He's like, "There's no sound playing that video." I'm like, "Well, that's pretty pointless to watch." So, I'll just switch over to going live. So we'll do it live. So welcome to the October 2025 edition of T3 Live, Stories from the Road, Nomad Life, what's going on in my world, what my possible and probable futures are, and all sorts of good stuff like that. The first thing I want to start off is with an immense amount of gratitude. As somebody who has, for going on 5 years now, been trying to put together businesses that are held together by like 50 cents, some scotch tape, uh, a lot of charisma, and just never having enough to do anything fully the way I wanted to do it. I knew that even though my car is still relatively new, that coming soon, something was coming soon that was going to be expensive, and I was dreading it. And luckily, thanks to the arrangement I came to with Mr. Rick Barry from 4EEE, who's going to become the new official caretaker of my father's early edition books and handwritten passages. Uh, so right now, so as I was pulling here into Spokane, I don't even know how many nights ago now. We have dinner here, and then we decide to go up the hill to check out another piece of property that his family owns. And so I get in my car, he gets in his car, and um, we're driving up this road, and he's just pulling away from me, pulling away from me. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? Hold on, let me fix this mic up a little bit. All right, is that better? I should have grabbed a second zip tie. Hold on here. 1 second. Got to get creative here. All right. How's that now, Chris? Better? All right. So, yeah, so we stop here, have dinner, and decide to go up the hill. And I'm driving up this hill, and I'm shifting, upshifting, and my car is already like a boat because of the giant aluminum wing that is my house that sits on top of my car. And I was just like, something's not right here. It would rev up to like 5,000 RPMs, drop back down, catch. And then all of a sudden, there was smoke everywhere. And I was just like, oh, yeah. So I pull over the side of the road. I call Chris because he was just up ahead of me. And I'm like, yeah, got a bit of a problem here. So as I'm waiting for him to turn around, like I've had to do a few times since I've been 17 years old and an operator of an automobile. I called my car insurance company, and out of all the car insurance policies I've had my entire life, I always get roadside assistance. It's $2, well worth it. So I open up my Geico app and start flipping through the stuff to get my car towed back here. And they tell me that I don't have roadside assistance on this policy. And I'm like, that is impossible. I said, look back, how many policies I've owned with you guys? Do you see one where I've never had roadside assistance? And especially on a financed vehicle, especially with the nature of my work, I'm like, come on now. So they're not going to do anything. So the only amount of money that was really wasted in all of this was the $217 for him to tow it 8 miles back here. But so the next morning, Chris is a well-versed Subaru mechanic. We started making calls next morning. First thing we do is call some actual shops to get an estimate. And I think the cheapest one we got was 1600 just for the clutch. And I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. Okay. What's option two? So long story short, we decided to do it. And not only did we put a new clutch in my car, we repaired a bad strut tower bearing that was causing this horrible clicking sound every time I would turn to the left. And I did a bunch of electrical line clear up in the front and just took care of a bunch of little things here and there. And you go out and drive it now, and it's like driving a brand new car. I mean, it's actually got some pep to it. Um, so yeah, I'm super excited to know that even though, for slightly under $1,000, I got about $3,000 worth of auto repair. I'm glad that it happened just as the journey was getting started. Because I think of like, what would I have done if that happened and I was, 40 miles down a Forest Service road in Southern Oregon and found out I didn't have roadside assistance and the tow would have been $1,400. And yeah, let's just say we had a talking to and I now have it on my policy. But I couldn't believe that it's always the first thing I look for whenever I redo my policy. It's the first thing I pick. So anyway, so today's episode, I'm going to focus on a couple things. I'm going to talk here for a minute, and then I'm going to show you a bit of a map that is going to kind of point out what my inner vision is telling me my first kind of route should be. Long leg. We're going to call this long leg number one. Um, so when I originally came here to Spokane, it was only for one night, and then I was going to go back to Roundup, Montana, that is, rejigger my gear, get the memorabilia, and then drive down to Nevada City, California to hand deliver the memorabilia to Rick because A, shipping expensive things is really expensive, and B, every time I think about shipping it, it just doesn't sit well with me, seeing as I've carried that stuff with me for 20 plus years now, over 13 different moves. So not only will I get to see Rick and his operation, which looks amazing, I have other friends in the area. After that, I'm going to take a quick jaunt over to Santa Cruz, where I'm going to interview Mr. John Young for an upcoming podcast episode. And speaking of the podcast, it's doing really well and I'm really excited about it. So please help me spread the word. Um, I, being that I was here in Spokane, when I first moved to Oregon, as a lifelong fly fisherman, and knowing this is salmon and steelhead country, the Columbia River Basin, I immersed myself in the difference between fishing for East Coast trout and large West Coast salmon and steelhead. So I learned how to two-hand cast and I started to learn how to tie my own salmon and steelhead flies. And there was this one guy I just randomly was following on Instagram and talk about the true definition of a caretaker. Anytime I would ask him a question, like he would get on video with me to talk me through a certain technique and, took hundreds of hours off the learning curve of me tying salmon and steelhead flies. And the two other things that I really love about Josh Mills is anytime there's a major disaster, be it local, national, whatever, he puts together an online auction through Instagram where, he will throw in some of his hand tied flies. He'll get other companies he knows to donate things. And I forget the figure he said, but they've raised a lot of money for a lot of good causes. Everything from hurricane relief to people with medical bills. And, you know, you always hear me talking about the way of the caretaker. In its purest essence, being a caretaker is being willing, ready, and able to give your time, the most precious substance on earth. When you give your time to help somebody else in any way, shape, or form, that is dipping your toes into caretaking. Random acts, small random acts of kindness. So, being that I was going to be here in Spokane, I had never actually met him in person. And he popped over here and we recorded a podcast. And the lighting was so bad because there wasn't much shade. And I thought I hit record on the camera. I recorded the audio. So that episode will be audio only. And one other thing about the podcast, so when you go to the podcast page on my website, I think the only way you can watch the actual video version now is through YouTube. I think I have to pay, I either have to have a bunch more followers or pay money to Spotify to get video as well. Um, And, some of the interviews, just listening to the audio would be fine. But there's going to be some interviews that I'm going to be doing with some epic stuff in the background that you're going to want to see. So, yeah, YouTube is always the place to go for um, for those. And as I travel, I'm going to be teaching classes, but I'm also going to be driving and I'm going to see a sign that says something cool in 3 hours. And I'm going to say, what could I teach about this something cool area for an hour over YouTube? And I'll quickly, I'll pull over, use the restroom, throw up a quick description and say, hey, in 3 hours, I'm going to be live streaming from Gnawbone, Indiana. And we're going to go to this creek and look for geodes. And yes, you can find geodes in a town called Gnawbone, Indiana. Uh, it's a story for another day. But I want there to be spontaneity to it. And the same thing with my podcast. I am using that as a vehicle to introduce you all, my students and followers, to not only people who have shaped me into the man I am today, but I may do an interview with somebody that I just met 10 minutes previous. Because I have things set up the way I do, I literally have that capability to start teaching or broadcasting, with 10 minutes or less of setup. So, I was actually thinking when I go down to interview John Young, I'm going to go to the college campus in Santa Cruz and I'm just going to I'm going to sit at a table and just be like, anybody want to be on my podcast? And see how that goes. Oh, God, I love ginger ale. Something a few of you have heard me mention lately, and this is something that I'm really just kind of coming to terms with, is this idea of home. Most people have a place that they can point to on a map and say, that's my home. That's where my family is. Um, and they know that they will always be welcome there. And I didn't realize it until recently, but I no longer have that feeling when I think of where I grew up and where I was raised. So not only is this trip going to be me bringing the skills dash to dash you at a extremely reduced rate, because I'm going to be in your area. You won't have to pay for a plane flight. And as I said a million times, I've never been comfortable charging for the information in my head. But it does cost money to pay for clutches and things like that. So I always do everything on a sliding scale. So if you want to book me, as soon as this broadcast is over, you can contact me and you can tell me where you live, and we can set up a Zoom meeting and talk about a class, and then I can give you a guesstimate on when I will be in that area, and go from there. Or if you have a group of friends that want to put a class together, or for your family, um, I'm going to be releasing a blog post before I leave Montana to head to California that is going to kind of list out all the services that I'll be able to offer as a nomad. And it's going to be quite extensive. So I'm looking to build the world's first ever, who knows how long, living documentary where I am just, I'm on this journey to fulfill the promises I made to my father. I'm on this journey to show people that I'm not what they've been made to believe I am. I'm out on this journey because for 26 years, ceaselessly, I have been teaching at one place or another. And the only other time I had freedom of movement like this was my time before returning to tracker school as an adult. My dad was trying to get me to come back for years, and I said, give me a few years to go do a miniature version of your walkabout and, sharpen up the skills, and then I'll come back. And that's exactly what I did. So for the first time, I now have that ability. So to top it all off, I'm also searching for a new home place, a new community. One of the secret blessings about the extra week and a half I've spent here at my friend Chris's house is that I've got to cuddle with his kitties at night. And realizing that the last time you had another warm body next to you was years. The first night I got here, Chris looked at me and he walked over to me and he hugged me and he held me for 10 minutes while I cried. And that was the first real hug that I got in a really long time. And when that's what my life was on a daily basis, I was surrounded by friends and people who spoke my language and heard the voices that others don't hear. And somewhere along the line, I made a bad choice, which led to me breaking some of the most basic rules of surviving in the woods, things like not panicking when you find yourself in an emergency situation. Made all sorts of mistakes, but then to find out for 2 years that you were literally moved around a chessboard in some fucked up Game of Thrones thing, while also not being consulted by anybody on what you think the future of your father's legacy should be about, when I'm probably the only one who actually knows 100%. So, while my tracker school family, they're still my family, I would still do anything for just about any and all of you. I looking to build something for a new era that explores not only the ancient skills, but also the skills it takes to truly be a caretaker in these crazy modern times. The communication skills, the emotional intelligence skills, the things that many of us just weren't ever taught as children. And because I've developed this whole new skill set, I have not only my father's experience with Stalking Wolf to draw upon, with my teachings, but I have an extra 16 years teaching away from my father, developing the skill sets that he lacked that led him into some traps that, even the most aware of us can fall into. And I won't fall into those traps because I think, if there's one prime directive, it should be that we at least try to become better versions than our parents. And in their heyday, my parents were two of the most badass people I know, or I knew. And that's the pure vision that I speak about. So, with that being said, I'm going to keep this one a little bit short tonight, and I want to try an experiment here to show you the map on my thing here. Hold on one second. Make sure I got audio here. Just go to this one second. All right, there it is. One second. All right. So, can you hear me, Chris? Want to give me a yay or nay on the here? Oh, hi, Deborah. Hey, Bodie. Let's see if I can blow this map up a little bit. Second. Uh, probably should have done that beforehand. There we go. All right. So, as of right this moment, and hopefully you can see it somewhat well. Currently, I am in Spokane, Washington, as I said. Tomorrow, I will leave and I will drive towards Roundup. I may, depending on Tom Alpel's schedule, stop and hang out with him just for a quick overnight. But I may just rush back to Roundup to get my car geared out and then go visit him on my way south. Because I want to be able to spend some time and not rush. So yeah, that mark in the far upper left corner, that's kind of where I am, and that is the uh, imagine about a let's see, like a 400-mile wide corridor on either side of that black line that I may travel to and through, because somebody books me for a class there, or something comes up, or act of God, who knows? My only thing is being that the way Lyme's disease has gotten into my heart, um, I need to be careful of Lyme's country when the ticks are out. So I'll probably make it through, um, probably start making it up the East Coast, once it's a bit cooled off. So yeah, so if you live along this kind of corridor of this line, and I will actually post this image on the front page of my website, uh, and you want to host me for anywhere from a night to a week, I always like to offer something in return, whether it's helping you doing a little caretaking or cleaning stuff up. Um, once I do get another camera body, photos of nature on your property, uh, teaching, things like that. Um, some places I might only be looking for a place to stay for a night or two, some maybe a week or more. So I know, for instance, I'm going to be in the Peoria, Illinois area for probably at least a month. I know I'm going to be in the Carbondale, Illinois area for, better part of 3 weeks. One opportunity is that has been presented to me is do some guest teaching at Human University in Austin or outside of Austin. It's a school run by a guy named Chris Hyde, who's really awesome. And so, yeah, so got to kind of keep fuel in the tank, both in the car tank and the belly tank. Um, keep up on my auto repairs, keep paying my bills. I'm a simple man. I've cut my cost of living down to nil, and I'm just so excited for this and terrified and excited. Oh, let me go back to that. Yeah, so I'll post a picture of that map up on my social medias and on my website as well. As with most things in life, I try to have no expectations. Um, I that's why, I never say I'm going to something. I say I'm going towards it, because if I say I'm going to something, that removes any randomness to occur. But if I say I'm going towards something, that allows for interesting adventures to open up. So, I'm picking this route based on weather, based on visiting a few folks that I want to see, um, and, teaching opportunities. But as I said, I'm willing to come to you if you're anywhere in the lower 48. Um, and yeah, this is very much a free form journey, and I'm sure it will continue to evolve, as I do, and as getting better at living on the road does, and hopefully sometime get into an actual van so I can move around. But yeah, I'm super excited about it, and once again, I'm so grateful to my buddy Chris, who saved Rolling Turtle, saved me from losing my mind. And you want to talk about a caretaker, true definition of a caretaker. You know, I won't speak about his business, but let's just say he has, we all know that shelter's number one on sacred order. And he has provided shelter for, I think, every houseless family in the Spokane County area by organizing people who are also fellow caretakers. And that to me is sacred work. I'm honored to know him because of his wilderness knowledge. I'm honored to know him because of his mechanical knowledge. And just because he is a good person who truly wants to see the best for everybody around him. Doesn't just use other people's shoulders to step on to get one rung higher. And that's the type of people I want to be around. You know, I refuse to and I have thousands upon thousands of years of information in my head that is literally clawing its way out of my mouth to get into your ears, which is the main reason why all my classes will continue to be my online classes, pay what you will. And that means if you see a class that I'm going to run, and I'll talk about classes here in 1 second before I wrap it up. But basically, if you go on my schedule page and you see a class I'm running, I allow you to decide how much to pay for it based on your financial situation. Nature doesn't give a crap about how much money you have. And yes, I am running a business, but I was paywalled out of so many business classes that would have accelerated my learning curve and prevented some of the foibles that held me back, but I was always paywalled out of them. I could never take them. And I don't want anybody that sees a class I'm going to run have that feeling. So if you see a 4-part 8-hour episode class online that you want to take, and you want to pay me $100, a dollar, $1 million, uh, or nothing, or if you truly can't afford it, and I know it will better your life, then you're just as welcome. So, as far as classes go, I decided to go with the pay what you will model pre going to New Jersey and having my world turned upside down. And I realized that there's still a few classes that have a few episodes that need to be wrapped up. Also, to streamline my workflows, I'm taking everything to Google Classrooms because it's just going to be so much easier. I won't have to render recordings. It'll save me 40 to 50 hours of screen time a week. So, the first thing I'm going to do is start off slow. I'm going to run classes much closer together instead of being a month, between dates. There'll be 2 weeks. And I'm going to start off by starting where it all began, uh, with the wilderness. I called it Wilderness Survival 101 for a while, but I don't like the S word. So it's like, wilderness safety, um, getting more out of the wilderness, getting rid of the fear. 101. It's a 2-hour class. That is followed up the following week will be edible plants, followed by awareness, followed by natural movement, followed by urban preparedness, followed by nature photography. And I don't mean like art nature photography, although I will talk about that, but I mean that, we all carry cameras in our pocket that were literally alien technology 50 years ago. So, as far as being a naturalist who can't draw like me, like you asked me to draw an animal track, yeah. But if I always have my phone on me, I can take pictures, I can take video. So I talk about how to utilize it and how to grow as a naturalist in my nature photography class. There's a stealth and natural movement class in there, way of the caretaker class, and one other. And it's the first 8 webinars that I did at the start of the pandemic. And then I'm going to have one other class that will go up that is going to be the Diamond of Oneness, which is a very crucial class that I truly begin my business with because it was wholly inspired by a lifetime of experience trying to teach people how to be more awake, aware, and alive, coupled with me finding a paragraph of my father's unpublished writing combined with an experience I had in Alaska has given me this thing I call the diamond of oneness, which helps you grasp these skills much faster. Um, it's essentially a series of exercises. And diamond of oneness is wide angle vision, tracking, awareness, and the bottom of the diamond is natural movement. Um, so I'll probably put those two up to start. Everybody from last year will automatically get invited, back. Um, Anybody new who wants to register, the registration system will stay the same. It's still pay what you will. And yeah, I can't do this alone. I have been beaten into such a corner where I have so few resources that, my social media name is mud because of false flags and false allegations. I don't have the money to advertise over that. And I'm literally one of the most experienced people in my field in the world. And I don't do this to seek fame, riches. I just want to be able to pay my damn bills and eat a steak every once in a while. And I'm finally ready, to operate at the level that I used to always operate at. And, but if word's going to get out there about pay what you will in my podcast, that's where I need help from all of you. Uh, because even though I do have a tiny bit of money to put towards marketing on YouTube, it's, you know, I'm counting my pennies. And I just had to, do a $900 repair plus a $200 tow that I wasn't expecting. So with that, I'm going to say thank you all. I am blessed to be able to have a platform where people actually want to listen to what I have to say. And I really look forward to meeting some of you on my journey, old friends, people I haven't met, new friends, see cool places, grow my story, uh, and try to change the world one person at a time, just like my daddy taught me. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful night. I love you all. Peace out.